The way we're going to structure this lesson is going through a kind of timeline,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So we're dealing with the book of Romans, but we're focusing on the topic of the Gentiles in the book of Romans, right? Who exactly were they? Christianity will make you believe that these are the other nations, meaning people out of all different nations on the earth, including the Romans themselves, who are of Caucasian descent, aka of the Caucasus Mountains of Georgia, Russia, um, or of the tribes of Esau or Edom, as is stated in the book of biblical baby names, where you look up the word Esau and it says that he's a prominent figure in world history and is considered the forefather of the Roman Empire. So Christianity will have you believe that Paul is addressing everybody, including these people, and when he talks about the Gentiles. When you keep the Bible in its context, that is not what he's referring to. We're going to prove that. So let's start with the timeline, right? So the timeline begins in the division during the time of Solomon's death, when Jeroboam and Rehoboam, which was King Solomon's son and his most trusted advisor, took the kingdom and split it in two, which you had the northern portion and you had the southern portion. This is key information because without that knowledge in history, you don't know who Paul is talking about when he makes certain references in the way he's speaking, his tone of talk, right? So in the timeline of events, I'm going to show this image here. So here we have the timeline of events, right? So in 930 BC is where we have the kingdom splitting, and we're going to read about that in First Kings, right? And here is when the 10 tribes separated under Jeroboam. Later, in 722 BC, during the Assyrian captivity, which we could read about in 2 Kings 17, we read about the northern kingdom being scattered into Assyria by the millions. You're talking about millions of people being scattered into a country. Post 722, we read about the migration to Arsareth, which is documented in 2nd Esdras 13, 40 to 45. They went to isolate themselves to keep the laws. Others assimilate. Others assimilate, meaning a lot of the ones that stay behind assimilated into the local government and community due to what happened. They stayed around. They stayed back and assimilated and just became, because they never went back to Jerusalem, so they assimilated into the other nation. Then you have 500 to 300 BC, during the Persian Greek period. We have the historical, where the Israelites still scattered and culturally they assimilated as well. Now in 175 to 164 BC is the time of Antiochus decree that we read about in First Maccabees and 41 to 50, which is called the Hellenization, meaning it was a death penalty for keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, or to proclaim yourself to be a Jew. Then in 90 AD, we read about Josephus' records and his antiquities about the 10 tribes beyond the Euphrates in great numbers, which is the tribes being scattered as well as being on the other side of the planet. And then in 57 AD is where we get to Paul's letter to Rome, Romans 9 especially through 11, claiming the lost tribes, the lost Israelites among the Gentiles, right? So let's go to the beginning of where this started. So let's go to the Bible. Let's go to First Kings. Where is it at? BC, the book of Kings. Here he goes. First Kings. And let's go to chapter 12 and verse 19. Now, the simple question here is, who are the Gentiles that Paul was referring to? And what can we prove out of the Bible as far as their identity? So we want 1 Kings 12 and 19. Can you read that when you get it?
Yep. What is this? Book of 1 Kings chapter 12 and verse 19. So Israel rebelled against the house of David unto this day.
You see that? So Israel rebelled against the house of David unto this day. So that means that never changed all the way up until the time of Christ. They rebelled and they turned their backs on the Lord and the temple. Well, They claimed to still be serving the Lord, but they turned their backs on what he commanded, which was to attend at the temple, to present yourself 3 times a year, Passover, Pentecost, Tabernacles. All right. Go ahead, keep reading.
Verse 20. And it came to pass, when all Israel heard that Jeroboam was come again, that they sent and called him unto the congregation, and made him king over all Israel. There was none that followed the house of David, but the tribe of Judah only.
You see that? So the majority of the tribes went and followed who? They followed Jeroboam. But the tribe of Judah, they all stayed behind at the temple along with the Levites, the priests, and the Benjamites, right? So let's read it.
Verse 21.
Yeah.
And when Rehoboam was come to Jerusalem, he assembled all the house of Judah, with the tribe of Benjamin, 180,000 chosen men, which were warriors, to fight against the house of Israel, to bring the kingdom again to Rehoboam the son of Solomon.
You see that? That's where we know that it was Judah. So that when he said, but the tribe of Judah, that included Judah, Benjamin, and the Levites weren't going nowhere because they had their office was to attend to the synagogues and the temples. So they had to stay. They couldn't leave. They were not going to abandon their post. So that's how you know that those 3 tribes, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, were in Jerusalem and stayed there all the way up until the time of Christ. Outside of those 3 tribes, the rest were in the north, and they had what? Separated themselves completely, isolated themselves. So let's go from there. Let's go to 2 Kings 17 and 6.
2 Kings chapter 17 and verse 6.
Yeah.
In the ninth year of
Read from 5. Read from 5.
5. Verse 5. Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land, and went up to Samaria, and besieged it 3 years. In the ninth year of Hoshea the king of Assyria took Samaria, and carried Israel away into Assyria, and placed them in Halah, and in Habor by the river of Gozan, and in the cities of the Medes,
So you
and
see what they walked in? They walked in the statutes of who?
other
The
gods.
heathen. And so that means that they were worshiping other gods. They were no longer keeping the commandments. They were now keeping whatever laws and commandments that had to do with those other gods. Good?
And walked in the statutes of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out from before the children of Israel, and of the kings of Israel, which they had made. And the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against the Lord their God. And they built them high places in all their cities, from the tower of the watchman to the fenced city. And they set them up images and groves in every high hill, and under every green tree. And there they burnt incense in all the high places, as did the heathen whom the Lord carried away before them, and
Mm.
wrought wicked things to provoke the Lord to anger. Verse 12. For they served idols, whereof the Lord had said unto them, Ye shall not do this thing. Yet the Lord testified against Israel and against Judah by all the prophets and by all the seers, saying, Turn ye from your evil ways, and keep my commandments and my statutes, according to all the law which is commanded your fathers, and which I sent to you by my servant.
Right. So I'm sorry. Right. So at the time, the Lord was pleading with them to like, yo, stop, come back. But no, the pride was too heavy. The animosity was too great. Yeah, keep reading.
Verse 14. Notwithstanding, they would not hear, but hardened their necks, like to the neck of their fathers that did not believe in the Lord their God. And
Mm-hmm.
they, and they rejected his statutes and his covenant that he made with their fathers, and his testimonies which he had testified against them. And they followed vanity and became vain, and went
Mm.
after the heathen that were round about them, concerning whom the Lord had charged them, that they should not do like to them.
So they did the opposite. They went and followed the heathen. So if the heathen had tattoos, guess what? They had tattoos. If
Mm.
the heathen had piercings and bones in their noses, guess what? They had piercings and bones in their noses. Anything that the heathen did, they copied it to where they look like a Hebrew, but physically in appearance and attire and everything else, they look like what? The heathen. Yeah.
16. And they left all the commandments of the Lord their God, and made them molten images, even 2 calves, and made a grove, and worshipped all the host of heaven, and served Baal. And they caused their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire, and used divination and enchantments, and sold themselves to do evil in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him to anger. Therefore the Lord was very angry with Israel, and removed them out of his sight. There was
Mm.
none left. There was none left but the tribe of Judah only. Mm. Also, Judah kept not the commandments of the Lord their God, but walked in the statutes of Israel, which they made. And the Lord rejected all the seed of Israel, and afflicted them, and
Mm.
delivered them in the hand of spoilers, until he had cast them out of his sight.
You see that? They were cast away, right? But did God forget about them? No. Paul talks about that later,
Mhm.
right? Let's read up to verse 23.
Verse 21. For he rent Israel from the house of David, and
So
they
he
made
pulled Israel away from the house of David. Go ahead. And because of their own actions, read.
and they made Jeroboam the son of Nebat king, and Jeroboam drave Israel from following the Lord, and made them sin a great sin.
A sin, a great sin, a unforgivable sin, that according to the law of Moses, the penalty for that sin is death. So that means these descendants of Abraham who were under the promise, right, were going to now be destroyed along with the rest of the heathen in the world. That was going to be their outcome. Yeah, keep reading.
Verse 22. For the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jeroboam, which he did. They
Mm-hmm.
departed not from them, until the Lord removed Israel out of his sight. And as he had said by all his servants the prophets, so will Israel carried away. So was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day.
Right. And we can correlate this with Second Ezra 13, but we'll get to that later, right?
Mhm,
Now, let's go from there. So we got to keep all these things in mind. These historical points must be kept in mind because they are part of the context of what we read about going from the book of Maccabees to the New Testament.
mhm.
So from there, let's go to prophetic framing about the not my people becoming God's people. So let's go to Hosea 1 and let's read verse 9. Let me get that real quick.
Mhm.
Hosea chapter 1, verse 9. So this lesson is kind of set up in a timeline. So we started with the split.
Yep.
We read about how God felt about it, the consequence of them following Jeroboam into this idolatry way and blending themselves in with the heathen.
Mhm.
Um, is all factored in when you get into the New Testament. So let's see what happened during the time of Isaiah. So let's Hosea chapter 1, let's read verse 9.
Mhm. Book of Hosea chapter 1 verse 9. Then said God, call his name, Lo am I, for ye are not my people, and I will not be your God. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, Ye are the sons of the living God.
So who was going to be the one to tell them that they're the sons of the living God? Jesus was. Paul was. So in the same region where they were being told they're not my people no more is the same place Paul was going to show up eventually and do what? Teach them that they could be redeemed. That the blood of Jesus redeemed them. But we gotta prove that though, right? So let's see. So get keep that was it. You can read the last verse.
Yeah, verse 11. Then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered together, and appoint themselves one head, and they shall come up out of the land, for great shall be the day of Jezreel.
Right. So at some point, the children of Judah, which we read earlier, consisted of what? Judah, Benjamin, and the Levitical priests that stayed at the temple.
Yeah.
It says, and shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered together. When you gather something, is you have to actually grab it and pull it and move it and grab it. You're gathering something and bringing it together. All right. I wonder if the book of Ezekiel's in my notes because Ezekiel talks about the two branches becoming.
Okay.
No, I don't have it here in my notes. Let me see if it's in my first notes. Let me see. Find Ezekiel. Yeah, go to Ezekiel 37 real quick. Let me add that to my notes. I know I'm jumping ahead, but
Verse 17, you want, or 15 to 28.
Ezekiel 37.
Mm-hmm.
What verse was it?
It's 16.
Okay, let me get it. Ezekiel. So I want to have this ironed out when we actually,
Do it, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Ezekiel, where is it at? Ezekiel. Okay, Ezekiel 37.
16.
Yeah, 37 and 16. 37 and 37. You said 16, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's read up. Okay, start at 15. Yeah.
15. The
Right.
word of the word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it, for Judah and for the children of Israel his companions.
You see
Then
that? So from I'm sorry. So based on we got to keep that what they call that like it's like a key, right?
yeah,
So that key is understanding that when he's referencing Judah, he is
mhm,
talking about Judah, Benjamin, and the Levites.
mhm,
When he says Israel, he's referring to all the other tribes
mhm,
outside of those three.
mhm,
That's why you keep hearing him reference Judah and Israel.
mhm.
Because that wouldn't make sense because Judah is Israel. They're Israelites. They are from the seed of Judah. I mean, from the seed of Israel, Jacob.
Yeah.
So now you understand the lingo, the language of what's being, why they say it like that. So, read it again. Moreover.
And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, Wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Say unto them, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand.
So
Verse.
that's supposed to happen, right? It has to happen at some point. That was what, 17,
Okay.
18,
Shall I
30.
finish? Because
Yeah, good.
21, yeah, verse 20.
Keep,
Sticks whereon thou
mhm.
writest,
The heathen, right?
and I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all. And they shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms any more at all.
Mm. Hmm.
But,
Say that again. Yeah, there's a lot of cuts in this lesson.
yeah, man.
So we read up to where?
That was 20, was that 21
21.
or 22? 22, I think.
Right. So the thought is not complete yet. So you got to keep reading up to 23
Okay,
because there's a semicolon. So we got to read up to where there's a period. That means that's the end of the thought.
verse 23. Neither
Hmm.
shall they defile themselves any more with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions, but I will save them out of all their dwelling places, wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I will be their God.
Mm,
And David my servant shall be king over them, and they shall all and they all shall have one shepherd. They shall also walk in my judgments, and observe my statutes, and do them.
hmm.
And, and they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob my servant, wherein your fathers have dwelt, and they shall dwell therein, even they, and their children, and their children's children forever. And my
Mm.
servant David shall be their prince forever.
Right. My servant David shall be their prince forever. Remember, who came from the seed of David? It was the
Christ.
one shepherd gathering them all. Right.
Hmm.
All right. So
Hmm.
from there, let's jump to the Hellenization. It says, have Hellenistic oppression and the Maccabean response. So let's go to second century BCE, and we're going to start at the first book of Maccabees, 1 and 41. So now you have the Israelites scattered, right? Different places. I was trying to get a map up that shows where they were scattered mainly,
Hmm.
and it was in the land of Assyria and other portions. So here you have, let me see if I can zoom in on this. No, I can't. Open in preview, and yeah, I can zoom in here. Okay. So in here, you can see where they were mostly scattered out of. So you have all these regions going all the way up to Babylonia.
Hmm.
And so these were so from the north portion, they were scattered upwards into these different regions. All right. Going all the way to Babylon, and to the east of that was what? Asia. So we're going to notice that Paul followed this pattern in a way in his teachings, but he also went back to what? Rome. And in Rome, was the melting pot during that time. So everybody out of every nation was present in Rome. And a lot of them were Romanized citizens, even though they were of other nations. The equivalent of seeing all the different nations in New York City, and every nation has their own little community, has
Mm.
their food, but they are Americanized and they refer to themselves as what? Americans. So let's go to First Maccabees 1 and 41.
Yes, man.
Yeah, let's get that. Let's go first Maccabees 41. Let's
Book
all
of
right.
First Maccabees. Yeah. And verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and every one should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. And every Yep. Verse 43. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem, and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land. Sorry, verse 44. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem, and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings, and sacrifice, and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves, and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation, to the end that they might forget the law, and change all the ordinances. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit every one that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land, and drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for succor. Carry on.
Um, yeah, I'm
That was
typing some.
verse 53.
That was 53. Let me
Yeah.
see. In my notes, we are going up to 43, which was so the key is
Okay.
in where it says 43. It says, yea, many, right?
Mm.
So it's not giving you a definite number, but it means a lot of people. Many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbaths. So you had a lot of Israelites that were already praying to idols. So it was nothing for them to just go with it. Remember, this is a legal decree. So that means by law, you're being forced into this. So by the time of Paul's epistles in Rome, you have Israelites who forgot their identity, lived as Greek or Romans based on the decree, spoke foreign language, and followed pagan customs. Right, because in here we're reading that it says and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifices and drink offerings, and whosoever would not consent or whosoever would not do according to the commandments of the king, he said he should die. So if you had people amongst the northern tribes that were secretly still trying to follow the Lord, or maybe they would go to the temple in secret or whatever they were doing, guess what? Or circumcising their kids, guess what? If they were caught doing these practices, what would happen to them?
Death.
They would they would be put to death. So people had to change out of fear of saving their own lives. So let's go from there to more on the Hellenization. Okay. For the kings sent letters that they should follow the strange laws, forbid burnt offerings, profane the Sabbaths, and whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. You say you read up to 54. Let's keep going to 57.
Verse 54. Now the 15th day of the month Now the 15th day of the month Caslu, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar, and builded idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side, and burnt incense at the doors of their houses, and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law, which they found, they burnt them with fire. And whosoever was found with any the book of the testament, or if any committed to the law, The king's commandment was that they should be put him to death.
You see that? So even if you tried to hold on, let's say you was of the northern tribes and you still had records, you still had the testaments, you still had the writings of Moses, and maybe you're a rebel against your own local community in regards to still trying to follow your ancestry, right? Remember, you're part of the northern tribes. Guess what
Yeah,
happens if you got caught? You'll be put to death. That's right. We see that today, where during the conquest of the West and the Americas, what
yeah,
happened to the native tribes, right?
yeah,
Geronimo's people. Geronimo fought into the end to try to preserve what was theirs naturally. But then once everybody was caught, they started what? Sending them to boarding schools to train them to become more what they call civilized, right? And what did they have to do? They had to forget their laws, their customs, the way they dressed, everything. And by the time you were done, they looked European.
yeah. Suits
So
and
it's the
ties.
same thing that happened here. Same thing that happened here. So you had
Assimilation or colonization. Same
right,
thing did in Australia as well, isn't it? The boarding
right.
schools and all that. Yeah.
It's like this, right?
Mm.
So so what you had going on here, you
Yeah.
had the Roman to the left, right? You had those of the tribe of Judah in the middle, and
Yep.
then you had those who were considered the Gentiles of the northern tribes on the right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get something that's a little bit more historically accurate because the guy on the right looks like he's still observing the quote unquote the Jew customs of
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
the Southern Kingdom. But that's basically the gist of it. So you had a community of people during this time where those who were of the northern tribes just went along, right? Those just went along with it. They consented to the Greek religion. All right, so from there, let's go to we read up to 57, right?
Yeah.
Now let's go to First Maccabees 2 and let's read from verse 27.
And
Verse
Mattathias.
27, because look what happened here. Look what happened during the time of Mattathias. Go to read from 21 down. So this is the moment where Mattathias started the rebellion.
Verse 19. Then Mattathias answered and spake with a loud voice. Though all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him, and fall away every one from the religion of their fathers, and give consent to his commandments, yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers. God forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances. We will not hearken to the king's words to go from our religion, either on the right hand or the left. Now when he had left speaking these words, there came one of the Jews in the sight of all to sacrifice on the altar, which was at Modin, according to the king's commandment. Which thing when Mattathias saw, he was inflamed with zeal, and his reins trembled, neither could he forbear to show his anger according to judgment. Wherefore he ran and slew him upon the altar. Also the king's commissioner, who compelled men to sacrifice, he killed at that time, and the altar he pulled down. Thus dealt he zealously for the law of God, like as Phinehas did unto Zambri, the son of Salam. And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, Whosoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me.
You see that? Whoever was zealous of the law and maintained the covenant, let him follow me. And thus began the rebellion against the Greco rule over the Israelites at that time. Right. So you had, but again, remember, you had many that consented to the king's religion and did not join him.
Mm-hmm.
And so they survived, right? Because when you read
Yeah.
in the scriptures, the Maccabees were taken out. And I think Simon was the last one left.
Mm-hmm.
And it ended with them going into treaties with Rome to find
Yeah.
some kind of peace,
Yeah.
which is where you go into why the situation was the way it was when Christ was born. So from there, let's go to First Maccabees 3, and let's start at verse 18 and let's read up to 22.
That's
Yeah,
Maccabees chapter 3, verse 18. Unto whom Judas answered, It is not hard, it is no hard matter for many to be shut up in the hands of a few, and with the God of heaven it is all one. to deliver with a great multitude or a small company. For the victory of battle standeth not in the multitude of an host, but strength cometh from heaven. They come against us in much pride and iniquity to destroy us, and as our wives and children, and to spoil us. But we fight for our lives and our laws. Wherefore the Lord himself would overthrow them before our face. And as for you, be ye not afraid of him.
You see that? Wherefore the Lord himself will overthrow them before our face. And
Mhm.
as for you, be ye not afraid of them. So, but we fight for our what? We fight for our lives and our what?
Commandments, our laws.
And our laws. You see that? So they fought to try to keep them while the other ones gave them up willingly.
Mhm.
That says a lot, because when you get to the New Testament, you got to understand um why there's people being called Gentiles.
Mhm.
All right. So from there, let's go to First Maccabees 4, and let's go to 52.
Mhm.
That's right here. 52 to 59.
Mhm.
Can I read that?
For First Maccabees chapter 4, verse 52. Even in that he was it dedicated with songs and cisterns and harps and cymbals. Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshipping and praising the God of heaven, who had given them good success. And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days, and offered burnt offerings with gladness, and sacrificed the sacrifice of deliverance and praise. They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold, and with shields, and the gates of the chambers they renewed, and hanged doors upon them. Thus was there very great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away. Moreover, Judas and his brethren, with the whole congregation of Israel, ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days, from the 25th day of the month Caslu, with mirth and gladness.
You see that? So here you have the tribes where the southern kingdom was able to regain what was theirs,
Mhm.
and they took pride in that. But where was the northern tribes?
Mhm.
They didn't take part in that pride. They were separated. So
Mhm.
now let's touch on to let's see, Antiochus, suppression, Hasmonean resistance, rededication, which is Hanukkah. Right. So here you have the southern tribes in celebration, and the northern tribes, they're gone. Right.
Yep.
Now let's go to some of the writings of Flavius Josephus. All right. So I'm gonna pull something up here. I'll make a new note, put this here, and I'm gonna let's see, open a new. So these are some of the writings of Flavius Josephus. So in these writings of Flavius Josephus, it says Flavius Josephus, Antiquities of the Jews, 11.5.2 in the Winston is this book right here. The
Okay.
Winston, what is it called? Winston, translated by William Winston A.M. So that's coming from this book.
Mhm.
It says here, the 10 tribes are beyond Euphrates till now, and are an immense multitude, and not to be estimated by numbers. Book and section Antiquities 1152, also cited in Nice numbering as 11.133. Addition note on page number, very publishing, blah, 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 blah. All right, so the 10 tribes are beyond the Euphrates till now. So when did they go past the Euphrates? During the time of Ezra.
Mhm.
So let's go from there to, let's see, let's jump to the book of Romans now. Paul's case in Romans.
Mhm.
Paul writes in 57 AD, arguing to one of God's righteousness revealed in Messiah for Jew and Gentile, and explaining Israel's present and future within that plan. So let's go to Romans 1 and let's start at verse 16.
Mhm.
Chapter 1, verse 16. Okay, I got you. I'm here.
Yep. It says, For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believeth, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek.
So that would make you think that he's referring to the native Greeks,
Mhm.
right? Of the Caucasian race,
Mhm.
right? Well, let's see. Okay.
Verse 17. For therein is the righteousness of God revealed from faith to faith, as it is written, the just shall live by faith. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who hold the truth in unrighteousness, because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God hath showed it unto them.
Right. So now from there, let's go to Romans chapter 3 and verse 29.
Mhm,
Let me see. Matter of fact, my timeline's a little off. Before we go to Romans,
mhm,
let's go to Second Esdras. I'm sorry, we shouldn't have gone to Romans yet. We should have went to Second Esdras first. So Second Esdras 13 and 40, because we read that Josephus mentioned that. Where's my note at? That Josephus mentioned that there was a great number. That was the setup. I
mhm,
skipped it. So Josephus said that there's 10 tribes are beyond the Euphrates till now, and are an immense multitude and not to be estimated by numbers. So that means that the ones that journeyed through the Euphrates and went wherever they went, they're in great multitude of numbers. All right, so let's read about that real quick. And Second Ezra 13. So now if we look real quick, the Euphrates River runs from the northern portions of where the tribes were in
mhm.
Assyria and can be followed all the way down into what? The Indian Ocean, which is right here. And then they're able to come out into the Arabian Sea. And then from the Arabian Sea, they can go where? Out into the Indian Ocean, into the Pacific Ocean. So they were beyond the Euphrates River. So wherever the Euphrates River ended, they went beyond that. They
Right.
went beyond that. So let's get Second Esdras 13 and verse 40.
Book of Second Ezra, chapter 13 and verse 40. Mhm.
Okay, read that.
Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Osea the king,
Right. Osea is short for Hosea. So when Hosea was king of Israel, this is when this took place.
whom Salmanasseh the king of Assyria led away captive, and he
Mhm.
carried them over the waters. And some came they into another land. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt, that they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land.
Right, because we're reading about that. They abandoned the statues, the covenant. They abandoned the rituals they were supposed to be doing at the temple, and they took on the heathens' ways, the heathens' gods, and built them altars and groves under every tree and every place you could go, and they sacrificed idols unto these things. So in them abandoning this way of life that they had partook in since the time of Jeroboam, the intent was to go to a place where they have no outside influence,
Mm,
where there they could keep the law, statutes, and commandments in their own land. That's why to let you know, this is not talking about the known, what was called the known world.
mm,
Because every place in the known world had what? Inhabitants of men. They had people there. So they had to go to a further away country where never mankind dwelt. There's no populace there. Yeah, keep reading. Read up to 45.
Verse 42, that they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow places of the river. For the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half. And the same region is called Arsareth.
Right. So the Bible documents this land and what this land was called that they were going to. It's right here. We're reading it. Second Ezra 13. Now, land where never mankind dwelt had yet to be discovered by the rest of the known world. One man did make that discovery, and that discovery was made in 1492. So to prove that, let's take the book, the word Arsareth. Let's copy that. Go to Jewish Encyclopedia. Jewish Encyclopedia. All right. We're going to go to their website, jewishencyclopedia.com. We're going to take the word Arsareth and we're going to paste it in there. And we're going to notice nothing comes up. Right. But so if we take Arsareth and change the S to a Z, hit enter. Now we get a definition in the Bible
Mm,
dictionary, the Jewish Encyclopedia. Very clever way to hide it. When
mm,
you click on that, watch what this says. All right. Now, mind you, oh, wait a minute. I just went back by accident. Okay, now mind you that we also have here the actual image of the page right here. So this is actually out of the Jewish Encyclopedia itself. So we could read it right from here.
mm.
All right. So let's read Arsareth. Yeah, read that right here.
Yep. Arsareth, the name of the land beyond the great river, far away from the habitation of man, in which the 10 tribes of Israel will dwell, observing the laws of Moses until the time of restoration, according to is that fourth Esdras?
Yeah, it's fourth Ezra. We just read it. So second Ezra is technically fourth Ezra
Okay.
when you keep it all together. So Ezra wrote several books. He wrote Ezra, Ezra. He
Yeah.
wrote the book of Nehemiah,
Yeah.
right? Then he wrote, so those are the first two books, right? Then he wrote first Ezra, then second Ezra. So
Right.
that's why it's known as fourth Ezra.
Okay. hmm
Yeah.
Fourth Esdras, chapter 13, verse 45. Columbus identified America with this land.
So Columbus what?
Identified America with this land.
So when it came time to identify the land that he discovered or the land he was trying to get to,
hmm
he identified it by referencing it as what? Assyria. Right. So if we look at this map, this right here is the known world. This was referred to as the known world. Africa, Israel, right? This whole landmass right here during
hmm
that time is known as the known world. But when Columbus had to identify where he was going to go on a map, he had to identify this piece of land here.
hmm
And when he identified that land, what did he call it?
Azareth.
He called it Arsareth because it was in the Bible. He found it in scriptures and then he physically tracked down the 10 tribes to the land of Arsareth that they had went to.
Why do you wish to sail west?
To open a new route to Asia. Asia is the richest kingdom, the land of spices and gold. At the moment, there are only two ways of reaching it. By sea, sailing around the African continent. The journey takes a year. Or by land. But the Turks have closed this route to all Christians. There is a third way. By sailing west across the ocean sea.
The distance is unknown. It's said to be infinite.
Superstition. I believe the Indies are no more than 750 leagues west of the Canary Islands.
How can you be so certain?
The calculations of Toscanelli, Marin de Tir, Esdras.
Esdras is a Jew.
So what's worse?
2 minutes, and already you're a dead man.
For telling the truth?
Yes. We are burning people for less. The men you're about to confront have no emotion.
So the Jewish Encyclopedia is admitting that,
Yeah.
but never in school. Never, ever in school. So this land, Columbus identified America with this land. This land is what?
Okay.
You see that? So when Josephus said that the 10 tribes are beyond Euphrates till now, he's not saying the other side of the Euphrates. He's saying that wherever the Euphrates runs to, they went beyond that.
Mhm.
So when you look at the map and you find the Euphrates River, right,
Mhm.
which is right over here,
Mhm.
they entered the Euphrates River, went beyond the Euphrates River. And when you
Mhm.
keep going beyond the Euphrates River, where does it lead you? It starts taking you what? East.
Yeah.
You see? Now
Mhm.
you're going further east. And if you keep following the shore, it's going to lead you where eventually? You're going to come out this way. You're going to go through Sri Lanka. You're going to pass through the Philippines, right? And then it's going to leave you where? Let me zoom out. It's going to lead you where?
America.
Into the Pacific Ocean.
hmm
So now the Pacific Ocean, if you ever look up the word Pacific, it was given that name because it's called the Peaceful Ocean.
Pacify.
Right. And it tells you in Esdras that the Most High held still the flood. What is this? This is the flood. When he says the flood, that's in reference to when the world was flooded with water.
Yeah.
And that flood gathered into what's called oceans. So that
Mm.
he held still this flood until they were passed over.
Mm.
So when you look, there's hundreds of small islands that
Mm.
you can hopscotch, find resources, food, vegetation, all
For a
the way
year
up,
and a half. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
all the way up until you reach where?
The Americas.
The Americas. You get it?
Yeah.
And this journey took them so long, it said that it took them what? A
Year and
year
a
and
half.
a half to
Yeah.
cross.
Yeah.
So that's a year and a half of stopping, going, leaving people behind.
Yeah.
People get sick. Families can't move because their father's sick. So they got to stay. Who knows? And then eventually they made themselves where? They made it over here to the Americas.
Yeah.
That's
That's
what
a very good
Columbus.
point you showed there, with the globe, with the islands, showing that, the resources and
Right.
all the things. Yeah.
Right.
Really good there.
You're not going to see that in the Atlantic Ocean. The
Nah.
Atlantic Ocean is treacherous. You see that? But you see it on this side of the world where it comes to when it comes to traveling the Pacific. If I'm not mistaken, Magellan was able to cross this ocean on a canoe,
Yeah.
right? You don't hear about people doing that in the Atlantic.
Nah.
But Columbus went a shorter route because he believed, according to the scriptures, that the earth was circular. It was round. It was a sphere.
Mhm.
So instead of him going east, he went where? He
Yeah.
went west,
Yeah.
right? And made his way to this island first. The very first place he landed was right here on the border of what's known today as Santo Domingo,
Mm.
Dominican Republic. Back then, they
Yeah.
called it Hispaniola,
Yeah.
which means it was property of Spain.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, likewise, Columbus knew that there was land here based on what he read in Ezra and tracked them to this place. So, that's where Josephus is referencing that the 10 tribes are beyond the Euphrates till now and are an immense multitude and not to be estimated by numbers. That is backed by the writings of Bartolome de las Casas. He said in his book, A Short Account, that there was more people on the island of Hispaniola than all the people combined in what he referred to as the known world.
Mm.
He
Mm.
said more people there than in any of these places here that he's seen.
Wow.
So that was part of what the prophecy said, that they would be what? As the sand of the sea, innumerable. So this land here, this landmass was bustling with people. It was filled to the brim. So let's go back to Paul's writings. Why? Because the same way the large majority of them left during the time of Hosea the king and Salmanassar when they got their freedom is the same way a lot of them stayed behind and were still in the other areas that they had occupied. Not every single individual that was part of the 10 tribes left. The majority left. So let's go to Romans now. Now that we have all that information about the tribes splitting, about them willingly adopting the heathenistic ways, the paganism, willingly converting and becoming Greeks. When the Greco Empire was established, they became Greeks now. So here we got a Greek on the left, what we refer to as a individual of the tribe of Judah in the middle. And then here is what a Hellenistic Israelite would have looked like during that time period. 1 second. So here you would have had a northern tribesman living as a Greek. They would have looked Greek in attire. They would have looked Greek, in any of their paganistic ways, tattoos, idols on their necks, all that stuff, following the Greeks for generations.
Do you want to
Meanwhile,
add? I was going to ask. Did you want to add the Strong's Concordance? Because when it says Greek, it says Hellenist, doesn't it?
yeah, I have it here. It's a Bible dictionary. So this is from the Zondavan Compact Bible Dictionary.
Mhm.
And we're going to read the definition for the Greek. So it says here that, let's see, where is it at? Okay,
16. Grecian, that's it, Grecian.
where you see it? Oh, right here?
16. Yeah.
Okay, let's read from the top. Grecia is Greece, the home of the Hellenists. Greeks, man, you read, man. You're the one with the good voice. Let's go.
Grecia is Greece, the home of the Hellenes. Greeks and Grecians, however, are to be distinguished. Greeks are generally those of Hellenic race, example Acts 16 and 1, 18 and 4, and probably John 12 and 20. But the word may be used to indicate non-Jews, foreigners and aliens, Romans 1:16. Grecians were Greek-speaking Jews, folk of the dispersion from areas predominantly Greek.
You see
Acts
that?
16
From
1,
the dispersion. Remember, they would
Acts 16 1.
disperse during the book of Kings, right? They
Mhm.
dispersed.
Yep.
Okay?
Of the southward movement of the Indo-European speaking tribes who became the Greek people.
The Indo-European speaking tribes who became what? The
The
Greek
Greek
people.
people.
That is the Greek, the real Greek, Indo-European.
Mhm.
Now, the Grecians, that was the distinguishing. So you had the Greeks and you had the Grecians.
Mhm.
Grecians were Greek speaking Jews, folks of the dispersion. We read about the dispersion in Kings.
Mhm.
These were what? It's not telling you here, but the Bible's telling you they were of the northern tribes of Israel. And so whoever was left behind during the exit, the second exodus by in second Esdras, where they went to Arsareth, those who were left behind, they were going to be what? Greek speaking Jews,
Mhm.
Grecians. So there's a big distinction. It's telling you here in the dictionary.
Mhm.
So let's go back. We were in where we left off at.
That one. It's Romans, wasn't it? Romans 1.
We were going to no, we were in second Ezra's. We read that. Now we're going to Romans. So let's see what's going on in Rome now. By the time Paul is walking the earth. So Paul in 57 AD is arguing the one God's righteousness revealed in Messiah for Jew and Gentile,
Mhm.
and explaining Israel's present and future within that plan. So let's go to Romans 1 and then start at verse 16. Yeah, that was it. Now go from there. So I am not ashamed of the gospel. Why would he have to say that? Because it was a shameful thing for a Jew to be seen with what? A Gentile. What made it shameful? You had many years of fighting and turmoil between the northern portion of Israel, the southern portion of Israel. The northern portion of Israel disgraced the Lord, disgraced the temple, and they went off and became heathen. I mean, became Gentiles, following the heathen. And then they were in battles with the southern kingdom. So for generations, you had this infighting and wars and deaths and whole families being wiped out. And now you get to the time of Paul, and it's a common thing that it's shameful to be seen with one of these quote unquote Gentiles, right? So
Yep.
he's reminding us, he says, "For I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believeth, to the Jew first, the tribes of what? Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, and also to the Greek," which we just read that Grecians were Hellenized, uh, Greek speaking Jews. And we know that the
Mhm.
term Jew during the time period of Christ referenced anyone of the Hebrew race as far as the descendants of Jacob. So
Mhm.
when you said Jew, you were including all of them.
Yep.
Initially, the word Jew represents the tribe of Judah.
Mhm.
But Paul was not of the tribe of Judah. He was of the tribe of Benjamin, and he's referenced himself as a Jew. Yeah, let's go to Romans 3, verse 29. So we can understand why Paul was saying the things he was saying, why he was making the certain references he was making. These
Mhm.
are the things that the Christian church is going to overlook and hope that you overlook. And I don't even think a lot of the pastors and preachers even understand this part
Mhm.
about the history and what transpired, what led to the creation of the quote unquote Hellenized uh, Greek, which was this guy. So that would be someone of the tribe of Judah during that time period. And this is what a quote unquote Hellenized Gentile would look like
Mhm.
based on historical descriptions, the descriptions of the Israelites.
It says, "Is he the God of the Jews only? Is he not also of the Gentiles? Yes, of the Gentiles also.
Uh huh.
Seeing it is one God, we shall justify the circumcision by faith, and uncircumcision through faith. Do we make void the law through faith? God forbid. Yea, we establish the law."
Right. So the justify of the circumcision. So during that time period, who was getting circumcised?
The Jews, isn't it?
Just the Jews.
The
Who
manner of it.
was okay? Keep this in mind. Who was forced to be uncircumcised?
The 10 tribes.
Yeah, we read it earlier in the book of Maccabees. If you were caught being circumcised, you were put to what? Death. So you had generations of the northern tribes who were living what? Uncircumcised by force. Now, and they were out there looking what? They were looking Greek as hell. Right, so you had the Greek speaking Jew, and then you had what? The Jew. Alongside what? The Romans. So this is what the population was looking like over there in Rome. Because remember, he said, is he not the God of the Jews only? Is he not also the God of the Gentiles? Notice he's not saying heathen. He keeps referencing these Gentiles.
Yeah.
These Gentiles. Why would he say that if he's not the God of the Jews only? Let's get that again. KJV. All right. EDU. Loved you. That is in Deuteronomy 7 and 8. So let's read that. So it's Deuteronomy chapter 7, and let's read this.
He said, verse 7, the Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because you were more in number than any people, for you were the fewest of all people.
So mind you, this is the Most High relaying the message through Moses to speak to the children of Israel that are in his presence in front of him at Mount Sinai. And so he's explaining to them why the Lord chose them. So again, read it again.
Verse 7, the Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because you were more in number than any people, for you were the fewest of all people. But because the Lord loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers, hath the Lord brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondage, from the hand of Pharaoh king of Egypt.
Right. So the promise that was made with your fathers, he's referencing Abraham. There was a promise that was made to Abraham, and and Abraham was told that his children would outnumber the sands of the sea, and that they would, because of them, all nations will be blessed, and that they were going to receive the promise and the rulership of the entire planet. That was the promise. They were elected and selected out of the humans that the Most High made. So he had a particular one that he said, you know what? I'm dealing with anyone that comes from you, Abraham. You're my chosen. So whoever comes from your loins is who I'm dealing with. And that was the promise that was made. When he pulled the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, he was letting us know, like, hey, I have not forgotten that promise.
Yeah.
Not forgotten it. And so Moses is letting them know, this is why you guys are being pulled out of there, because God loved you because of your forefather. So we got to keep that in mind. Let me put that here in my notes. Where will we at?
Yeah, I'd add 6 as well.
Yeah, read it where it says.
Verse 6, for thou
Yeah.
art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
Boom. There it goes. Above all people that are on the face of the earth. So every other race outside of this race that he's referring to, he's saying you are above all of them. He chose the children of Israel. I'm not making this up. We're reading it. So now let's go back to Paul, because Paul is going to be fulfilling what was said to Hosea. So let me get that real quick. So I want you to get Romans chapter, let's go to Romans chapter 9. Let me get that here. And then we're going to go to Hosea. So Romans chapter 9. Excuse me. Let's start at verse, one second. Hosea 9, Romans 9. Let's start at verse 24. You see 24 here?
Yeah, it's 24.
Let's read 24 down. Let me make sure. Yeah, 24. And then where's the book of Hosea at? Josephus, Ezra, Kings. Oh, 3. Yeah, okay. And then in another window, I'm going to get Hosea 1. Browse the Bible. Hosea chapter 1. And we'll read verse 9. All right, so read that.
Hosea chapter 9, book of Romans chapter 9, verse 24. Even us, whom he hath called, not of the Jews only, but also of the Gentiles. As he saith also in OC, I will call them my people, which were not my people, and her beloved, which was not beloved. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there shall they be called the children of the living God.
And where is he at right now? Speaking this, he's
Rome.
in Rome. In the place where you are not called my people, because the Gentiles were not being called the children of God. They were not being called the Jews. They were not being called the Hebrews. They were being called what?
Gentile,
Greeks.
Greeks, yeah.
Greeks. Grecians. So it was 24 to 26. You read that?
Yeah.
Okay, now let's go to Hosea. So Hosea 9, this is what he's referring to. Okay, read that.
Hosea chapter 1, verse 9. Then said God, Call his name, Lo am I, for ye are not my people, and I will not be your God. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, Ye are the sons of the living God.
Right. So in this region of the world, the northern portion of Israel,
Mm-hmm.
all those areas, they were being told what? You are not my people. God was like, I'm done. You're not my people. So in the same place, the same region of the earth where they're being told they weren't God's people, Paul is saying what now? That they are what?
Children of the living God.
You are the children of the living God. So again, finish reading Hosea.
Verse 11. Then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered together, and appoint themselves one head, and they shall come up out of the land, for great shall be the day of Jezreel.
So let's see how true this is. So if Paul's there fulfilling what Hosea said, who would he be addressing? He's addressing the children of Judah, of the children of Judah, and who else? The children of
Israel.
Israel. And there they're going to be what? Gathered together. And they're going to appoint themselves what? One head. And that one head was who? Christ. So let's go back to Romans.
Mm-hmm. Romans chapter 9.
You read up to 26?
Yeah.
Yeah, read it again. 9, it was 24 to 26.
Mm-hmm. Look at Romans chapter 9, verse 24. Even us, whom he hath called, not of the Jews only, but also of the Gentiles.
So instead of them being called here the children of Israel, what are they being called?
Gentiles.
Gentiles. Who Hosea, because now he's referencing back to where instead of it saying Gentiles in Hosea said what? The children of Israel. So he's letting us know. Go ahead, read it.
Verse 25. As he saith also in OC, I will call them my people, which were not my people, and her beloved, which was not beloved. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there shall they be called the children of the living God.
Keep reading.
27. Esdras also crieth concerning Israel, though the number of the children of Israel be as the sand of the sea, a remnant shall be saved. For he will finish the work and cut it short in righteousness, because a short work will the Lord make upon the earth.
Right. So he's going into something else there now at that end point. But we see how he's referring to the what? The people being called together, the children of the living God.
Yeah.
Right? Now let's keep going. Go to Romans 10 and 12.
Romans chapter 10, verse 12.
So in case you got it twisted and you think, nah, Gentiles is of another nation and a Jew is of another nation. Look what Paul says here.
For there is no difference between the Jew and the Greek, for the same Lord over all is rich unto all that call upon him. For whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. How then?
So now the Christian church, they'll take that word whosoever and they apply that now to all nations. So up until now, what we read, in order for them to do that, they cannot teach you the history. They cannot show you the book of Maccabees. And they have to pull this out of the context of what Paul was referring to. So we're going to keep putting it back into the context of what he's talking about, because Paul himself just referenced the book of Hosea, where God mentioned that the children of Israel who was separated themselves from the rest of the tribes, from Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, were going to be called what? Not my people. We already showed you that a Grecian is a Greek-speaking what? Jew. So when he's saying here, there's no difference between the Jew and the Greek, is because during that time period, the people, the Jews made sure you knew the difference between them and who these Gentiles or AKA Greeks were.
Yeah.
Let's go to Romans 10. We just read that, Romans 10. Okay, let's go to Romans 11 now.
Romans 11.
Yeah, we're going directly to the areas of where Paul was hinting on the Gentiles being of the children of Israel, because we're trying to prove a case. We're proving that the Gentiles were in fact the northern tribes of Israel who were dispersed and scattered, who assimilated themselves during 500. What do I have here in my notes? That during the Persian and Greek period, northern tribes still scattered across Asia Minor, Persia, and beyond. Cultural assimilation accelerates between 500 BC and 300 BC. So it's a lot of generations that they were living as what? Other nations, assimilating themselves. So go to Romans 11 and let's read 17.
Because I was just gonna show.
Yeah, what you got? Romans 10 and what?
So with the Strongs, just type it online, BibleHub.com, and then if you type in BibleHub.com /Greek /1672.htm.
Okay.
Yeah, /Greek /1672.htm. That's it.
There you go.
And then if you scroll down, it even references Romans 10 and 12. That's why I asked it. If you keep scrolling down, it'll show it.
Yeah, I'm adding this to my notes, buddy. Hold on one
Yeah.
second. Okay, and this is regarding 1672 Helen. Oh, Helen Greek.
So there's different ones like 1670. If you click the arrows to the right, you could probably do it after. It will show the different ones, but this one in reference to Romans 10 and 12, if you scroll down, it will actually show the Bible verse. You see it?
Bam.
Yeah. And then
So we
above,
just read, right,
and then
Romans 3.
above, yeah. And if you see the
Damn.
top, can you see where it says, if you go up a bit, can you see where it says 1, 2, and 3? If you keep going, up, 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 keep going, keep going, keep going. It's right there. You see 1, 2, and 3 in the left, top left.
Wow.
It says
I need to
Helen,
save this whole
Grecian,
page. All right, yeah, bring it out, bro. Yeah, well, so what we reading? You said,
all phrases.
all right,
So
so yeah, good. So a Hellen, Grecian, or inhabitant of Hellas, by extension, a Greek-speaking person, especially a non-Jew, a Gentile. But here it's saying non-Jew. But what's crazy is that when we go to Romans, where we were at, Romans what? Romans
Romans 10 and 12.
10, where he says, for there is no difference between a Jew and a Greek in Romans 10 and 12.
Mm-hmm.
That is referencing a what? Jew and Greek for the same.
Oh, so no, this is just Helen just means the Greek-speaking person. But remember we read in the Bible dictionary where it
Yeah,
said a Grecian was a Greek-speaking
Greek
Jew.
speaking Jew. Right.
Right. So when you go to whenever it says Hellenist or predominantly Hellenistic, it shows that it's Grecian. So if you click on the next one across, the next arrow at the top for 1673, see the first one, it says Hellenic, i.e. Grecian.
In language.
Yeah,
So it means you were just a person that spoke Greek.
that's right.
No different than you being from Africa, but you grow up in New York and you speak
Exactly.
English.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it goes back to that Hellenization, isn't it? In the Maccabees,
Yeah, that's
where
right. You're talking about several hundred years of people living that way. It's like now, we see it happen now. How many people of other ethnicities, they move to the United States
yeah,
and their children become what's called Americanized.
yeah,
It's the
yeah,
same thing. Americanized, Hellenized. No
yeah.
different. It's the same concept.
And then it says it in 1672. The first one, it says a Hellen, Grecian, inhabitants of Hellas, and then obviously being Grecian, you tie it back to the Bible dictionary. The
Right.
Grecian is what?
Greek speaking
Greek-speaking Jew.
person.
Yeah,
Right. Look at that.
yeah, man.
Powerful. Where are we at? We was in Romans. For there's
Yeah,
no difference between a Jew and a Greek. Because
yeah.
these Greeks right here are what? Greek speaking Jews. Wow. So let's see where we at. Okay, we left off in Romans 17, right?
So it says, "For if thou wert cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and wert contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these, which be the natural branches, be grafted in, being the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree? For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part is happened to Israel, until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. And so all Israel shall be saved, as it is written, there shall come out of Sion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. For this is my covenant unto them, when I shall take away their sins. As concerning the gospel, they are enemies for your sakes, but as touching the election, they are beloved for the Father's sakes. For the gifts and calling of God are without repentance.
Are you seven? So 17. I was looking
Sorry,
away.
Romans 11:17, yeah? Chapter 11, verse 17. And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree wert grafted in among them, and with them partakest of the root and fatness of the olive tree.
Okay, so Paul states he's trying to graft back in wild branches who used to be who used to be in the tree.
Mm.
So when we go back to the book of Ezekiel, right? Remember we read in the book of Ezekiel
Yep.
where it said branch?
The two sticks.
Yeah, Ezekiel 37. Let's read it. You got it? Sorry, start at 15.
The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick, and write upon it for Judah, and for the children of Israel his companions. Then take another stick, and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel his companions.
See that? That's referring to the 10 tribes.
Mm-hmm. And join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, Wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Say unto them, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand. And the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes.
So in Ezekiel is referring a stick which comes from a tree.
Yeah.
And in Romans, he's referring to what? An olive tree. And join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. Good?
Mm-hmm. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, Wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Say unto them, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand. And the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes. And say unto them, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whither they be gone, and will gather them on every side, and bring them into their own land. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all. And there shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms any more at all.
And that's what the mission Paul is on. Paul is bringing them together under what? Under one king,
Christ, yeah.
which is Christ, the King of Kings. That's what we're reading about. That was Paul's mission. That's why he was sent among the Gentiles to teach the Gentiles, right? Remember he said
Whither shall they go?
right,
That they cannot find them.
right,
Yeah.
where he go among the Gentiles to teach the Gentiles, because they were referred to as Gentiles. Here they're being referred to as two separate sticks, right? So let's go back to Romans 11. All right, so we was in 17. See, he's quoting let's read up above. Start at 15 again, because he's quoting Ezekiel here.
So I'm reading Romans again.
Yeah, Romans
Yeah.
11 and 15.
So here's Romans 11.
Yeah, Romans 11. I was in the wrong window. Romans 11. Start at 17. My bad.
Okay. Verse
Romans
17.
11, 17. Yeah.
And if some of the branches,
Yeah.
and if some of the branches be broken off, and thou, being a wild olive tree, were grafted in among them, and with them partakest of the root and fatness of the olive tree. Boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. Thou wilt say then, the branches were broken off, that I might be grafted in. Well,
You see that? That's what you read about in Ezekiel. He talked about two sticks being grafted together.
Mhm.
One stick having the name of Judah, the other stick having the name of Israel, which represented Joseph, Ephraim, and the rest of the 10 tribes. Get it?
Mhm. Verse 20. Well, because of unbelief, they were broken up.
Right. They broke off during the time of Jeroboam.
Mhm.
They left their faith and went off and started following heathen customs. Go ahead.
Well, because of unbelief, they were broken off. And thou standest by faith. Be not high minded, but fear. For if God spared not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not thee. Behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of God on them which fell, severity.
Who who was the ones that fell? The 10 tribes. Go ahead.
But toward thee, goodness, if thou continue in his goodness. Otherwise, thou also shalt be cut up. And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in. For God is able to graft them in again.
Graft them in again. So for you to be grafted in again, that means you were once what?
Or
Part
part
of
of it.
the tree originally. The native Greeks, right? The Caucasians, the ones we see in that image, they were never initially part of the tribes of Israel. They were never part of that tree. So how could they be grafted in again?
Mhm.
That don't make no sense. They would have to have been part of it initially for them to then be grafted in again. So he is talking about a branch that broke off, that fell from the tree, grew into a wild tree, and now Paul is trying to what? Take the two sticks and do what? Graft them back in. That is the gospel. That is the good news to that wild tree, to that wild branch, that you're welcome back. You could be grafted back in.
Mhm.
Yeah, keep reading.
What was that? Verse 24.
Yeah.
For if thou wert cut out of the olive tree, which is
So they were
wild by nature, and wert graft contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these, which be the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree?
You see that? These of the natural branches be grafted into their own olive tree because it don't make no sense. He is not talking about the Jews being grafted in with the Jews. He's talking about the northern tribes of Israel being grafted back in.
Back into their own tree.
That's right.
For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part is happened to Israel, until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in.
Right.
And
He's telling the Jews, like, yo, don't be ignorant of this. You've heard about it from Hosea. You've heard about it from Ezekiel.
verse 26, and so all Israel shall be saved.
Boom. So all Israel, so all, so all Israel shall be saved. Let me make sure I keep that in my nose. Yeah.
As it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob.
You see that?
For this is my covenant unto them, when I
Right.
shall
So
take
he,
away their sins. Mhm.
right. So let me see something real quick. And so all Israel shall be saved as it is written. Where did we read about that? We read about that in the book of Ezekiel. So that means Paul, in everything he's saying here, he's referencing the past,
Yep,
things that were written before him.
yep. Because there was
Then he
no
said,
New Testament while he walked.
of course, the New Testament was not even compiled yet. They're still actively writing the letters.
Yep.
So he says, there shall come out of Sion the deliverer, which is Christ, and shall turn away ungodliness from what? Jacob. Now he's referencing Judah, Benjamin, Levi, and the 12 tribes all together in one as Jacob. The same way the woman at the well said to Jesus, who she was a Samaritan woman of Samaria,
Yep.
technically of another nation, she says, art thou greater than our father Jacob?
Mhm.
She knew, but he had to tell the other Jews not to be ignorant of this because they have put these northern tribes off for so long that it was uncommon for a Jew to be seen talking to what? A Gentile. That's why the woman was confused when Christ spoke to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep reading.
And so all Israel shall be saved, as it is written, there shall come out of Sion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. For
Hmm.
this is my covenant unto them, when I shall take away their sins.
Their sins. not the sins of everybody on the planet Earth at this point. This is their sins. What was the sins they committed? They turned away from the covenant. They went on to idols. They separated themselves. They intermingled themselves and assimilated into the heathens. That was the sin that was going to be taken away.
Yeah.
Because that sin, under the laws of Moses, the only way out is death. Your blood has to be on your head in that case. So, yeah, now we can understand why Paul's saying this. Now with all that history we just went over, now this takes on a different meaning. Because now we can understand the context of what Paul was talking about. Go ahead.
It says, wherefore, remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, who also called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands.
You see that? So in time past, what's he referring to? All the history we went over. During the time of, even before the Maccabees. Remember, it's from the time of Jeroboam that they split.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the Maccabees, it's like, hey, if you was thinking of going back to becoming a Jew, now by law, you have to legally, by law, you cannot. You have to be uncircumcised. So they were Gentiles in the flesh. So their outward appearance, the way they were now what? Gentiles who were called uncircumcision. Why? Because they were no longer circumcising their children by that which is called the circumcision. So those who were circumcised, the Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, they were referring to them as the uncircumcised.
Yep.
They weren't doing that to the other nations. They weren't talking to the tribes of Moab, talking about you're the uncircumcised, because circumcision was never given to them. So there's no concern of another nation being circumcised or not. So it says, by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands. Yeah, keep reading.
Verse 12. That at that time ye were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope and without God in the world.
Right. So at that time, when they were being called what? Gentiles in the flesh, being called the uncircumcision, they were without what? A savior.
Yeah.
That's what Jesus Christ means. Jesus anointed Christ savior. Yeah. So they were without a savior. They were being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel. The commonwealth was that the wealth they had in common was descendancy, the promise, the things that pertain to them as a people. And strangers from the covenants of promise, because the covenants were made with their forefathers as well. Then it says, having no hope. There was no hope. They were done. Yeah. The penalty for that from the time of Jeroboam up until Christ was death. So imagine you're a Gentile, right? Let's pull up the picture of the Gentile real quick. So imagine you're the Gentile. Where is it at? So imagine you're this guy, right? You used to be a Hebrew. You're walking around as a Greek. And in the back of your mind, if you have a little knowledge of history, of your own history, because even our people today don't have any real knowledge of their own history, they walk around with what's given to them in their present life. Yeah. So he's walking around and he knows in the back of his head, there's no hope for him once he dies. Because if he knows that he's truly a Jew by descendancy of the northern tribes, but because of what his ancestors did out of his control, there's no hope. You can't go back to it. You can't go back to the one true God. There's no hope for you. So here comes Paul explaining to them, like, you was without hope, but now you have hope, because before you was without Jesus, now you have a savior.
It's the good news.
It's the good news. It's you're the wild branch that's going to be allowed to be grafted back in. And the good news during Paul's time was that it happened already. It's like, hey, several years ago, he died for you. So that blood is there. You just have to acknowledge it. Yeah. It wasn't like Christ was about to die for them. No, he died already. It's done. The work is done. They just need to know. So he says, so let's read it again. He says,
would you compare it to the parable of, remember the one where Christ said, some husbandmen came to him and they said, we'll work for you for a penny for 10 years, however long it was. And then at the end of the 10 years, some other husbandmen just came in and Christ made a deal with them. Yep, I pay you the same penny. You've only got to work a year, and then the ones in the beginning got mad. Do you remember that one?
Right, because
Yeah.
all for generations they've been doing the work at the temple. Because remember, what's the work? What's the work according to the Bible? Not according to what a camp says. And we're gonna look up work
Yep.
of God. All right, so let's see what the work of God is. There was one that says we have to keep his commandments, or maybe his works. Let me see his works. Yeah, here it goes. That they might set their hope in God and not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments.
Mm-hmm.
John 6:29. So let's go to 28. Okay, look what it says here. Then said they unto him, what shall we do that we might work the works of God?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus answered and said unto them, this is the work of God, that ye believe on him who he hath sent.
Mm-hmm.
They said therefore unto him, that sign shewest thou them then, that we may see and believe thee. What dost thou work?
Mm-hmm.
So that work of God is the keeping of the commandments, and again, believing in his son.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what a lot of people tell you it is, that you have to do something for their brand or company or whatever it may be. No, it's the keeping of the commandments and believing in Jesus. So
Yeah.
it's like you said, they've been putting in that work of keeping the commandments, and part of it was what? Going to the temple, sacrificing all these certain animals on on tabernacles, Pentecost,
Yeah.
the scapegoat on Day of Atonement. So
Mm-hmm.
they've been putting in all these different works right at the temple.
Mm-hmm.
And here you got the, like you said, the northern tribes coming in at the end,
Mm-hmm.
having not spent generations doing that type of work, but
Yeah.
yet they're going to receive the same
Reward.
benefit, the
Yeah.
same reward. That upset some people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? That upset some people. So where were we? We was in Ephesians 2 and 12.
It says that at that time you were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope and without God in the world.
Look at that. Keep reading.
But now in Christ Jesus, ye who sometimes were far off are made nigh by the blood of Christ. For he is our peace, who hath made both one, and hath broken down the middle wall of partition between us, having abolished in his flesh the enmity, even the law of commandments contained in ordinances, for to make in himself of twain one new man, so making peace.
Right. So even the
Mm.
law of commandments contained in ordinances, because the law, according to the law, right, having abolished in his flesh the enmity, that enmity was the consequences they were supposed to be facing, breaking off the way they did.
Yes. Yeah.
That means when judgment day comes, right, the day of the Lord arrives, like you read about in previous times that they're all waiting for.
Mhm.
This man's walking around knowing that he's done.
Yeah.
He was born into it. He was born into the rebellious families that had been broken off for generations.
Yeah.
So now that enmity, even the law of commandments contained in ordinances, for to make in himself twain one new man. So his sacrifice abolished that enmity that God had for the northern tribes for their breaking away. And so here you're telling this man now you can take off that Greek stuff. You can take off being a Hellenized Greek. You could come back to your fold. You could come back to your people.
Yeah.
And it wasn't an easy thing, because you read how there was issues, right? Like you had the Jews tending more to their widows and not really tending to the widows of the Gentiles.
Mm.
So there was still issues going on even throughout the times of Paul all the way into the New Testament, right?
Yep.
But yeah, keep reading. So we were gonna go up to 13. We read up to where? Finish that. Read 15 and 16
15.
and 17. Yeah.
Having abolished in his flesh the enmity, even the law of commandments contained in ordinances, for to make in himself of twain one new man, so
Right.
making peace.
One tree, right? One branch, one stick.
And that he might reconcile both unto God.
I'm sorry. For to make in himself twain one new man, so what? So making peace.
Mm.
You see that?
Mm. Yeah.
There was no fighting between the Jews and the Romans. They fought the Greeks. So why would he be in Rome or in Ephesia talking about making peace? There was no issues between Rome and the Israelites.
Yeah.
They were under treaties that had been pre-existing from the time of Maccabees. That's like me being born Puerto Rican and I automatically have American citizenship. Because why? There was a beef between America and Spain and fought, and there was treaties now between America and PR.
Yeah.
So by default, I'm born as Puerto Rican, so I'm born into those treaties to where I could go back and forth to America like nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
No different. No different. So he says, and that he might reconcile both unto God in one body by the cross, having slain enmity thereby, and come and preach peace to you which were afar off. Again, referencing the dispersed that we read about from Kings and the other scriptures. And to them that were nigh, who? The ones that were still close, still living near Jerusalem, still going to Jacob's well and drinking water, like the woman from Samaria.
Yeah.
She was part of the ones that were nigh, that were close.
Yeah.
For through him we both have access to one spirit unto the Father. Oh man, this is all good. Keep reading. Verse 19.
Fitly framed together, groweth unto an holy temple in the Lord, in whom ye also are builded together for an habitation of God through the Spirit.
And all that was hijacked
Mhm.
by the other nations who twist this to make it seem like those outside of the Israelites this is meant for.
Well, there's a famous Bible New Testament scholar. His name is Bart Ehrman, and I remember watching one of his videos, and he himself claimed that Christ taught about saving his people, not all nations.
Look at that.
This is a doctor of the New Testament, speaks Greek and all of that.
Yeah, let's go real quick. Let's go to Matthews 1 and 21.
So,
Let's go to some bangers. 1 and 21, right? And then we're gonna go to Acts, I think it's 25. Yeah, Acts 5 and
31.
31. So
Mhm.
because we're gonna look at the mission statement from before he was born, Jesus, and what the mission statement was after his death. Because according to Christianity, it changed with his death.
Mhm.
All right, so let's start with the mission before his birth. So Matthews 1, verse 21. Yeah, read that.
It says, and he shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Jesus, and he shall save his people from their sins.
Their sins. That's very specific because
Possessive pronouns.
before his birth, there was no inclusion of any other nations into being Jews.
Mm,
So at that
mm,
moment, his fathers of the tribe of Judah, his mothers of the tribe of Judah, they are quote unquote Jews of the 12 tribes of Israel.
yeah.
So if the angel is telling his dad, call him Jesus, meaning anointed.
Mhm.
Why? For he shall save his people from their sins. At the moment, he didn't understand that he was referencing all 12 tribes, but definitely was referencing what? The tribes of Judah.
Yeah.
So upon his death, right? Matter of fact, even before his death, let's see when Christ became an adult, if that changed.
15, Matthews 15,
Yeah,
24.
these are three bangers. These are three scriptures that are very specific and they're very direct. So you have Matthew 15 and 24. So let's read that real quick. So we got Christ before he was born. The instructions was what? That he would what? Save his people from their sins, right?
Mhm.
Now we have Christ as an adult. 15 verse 24, right? So now let's start at 21, read down to 24.
It says,
Read.
Then Jesus went thence and departed into the coast of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast, and cried unto him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with a devil. But he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, Send her away, for she crieth after us. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, It is not meet to take the children's bread and to cast it to dogs.
Mm.
But he said, Truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table. Then Jesus answered and said unto her, O woman, great is thy faith. Be it unto thee even as thou wilt. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour.
You see that? He said, I
Amen.
am not sent, but unto what?
The
The
lost
lost
sheep of the
sheep
house of
of the
Israel.
house of Israel. He told it directly what his mission was.
I was just saying, something I read a long time ago. I think it's in the book of Luke. It
Mhm.
records the same instance, but it says a Syrophoenician woman by nation,
Right,
and it's
right,
just
right,
because I think at that time when the book was written, the name of that land was called something slightly different.
right. So she was a Phoenician by I guess where she lived, but her
Yeah,
ethnicity was of the tribe of Canaan. That's why it tells you a Canaanite woman. That's like in one book you say, hey, this American black lady, right?
yeah,
And then in another book I say, hey, this African lady from
African
Nigeria.
American. Yeah.
Now I'm distinguishing where she's from,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
ethnicity wise. And the other one I just referenced that she's a black woman here in America.
Yeah.
It's no different. It's the same thing. So Christ said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. That's pretty heavy.
Yep.
He made it very specific. And why did at this point, right? Everybody's in Jerusalem. Who's lost? They're
Mm-hmm.
keeping the commandments. They're going to the temples. They're sacrificing. They're keeping the Day of Atonement. They're keeping Hanukkah. They're keeping all the feast days. Who were the lost sheep? We read about it. They were the ones that were what? Dispersed. The
Yep.
northern tribes that scattered themselves amongst the other nations. They still belong to the Lord. Even though they cut themselves off, they still belong to the Lord.
And the other nations knew it too, because like the woman said, she said truth. So she understood.
Right. She understood. She did not argue with him at all. But she told him, even the dogs eat of the crumbs from their master's table. So she acknowledged the position she was in. She acknowledged that he was the master. She acknowledged that, it's sad, but she referenced herself as a dog. She was cool. Yeah, cool with that. She probably looked like this. So here you got a woman of Canaan, another nation, right? Talking to Jesus. She's a Canaanite woman. They look very similar to the rest of the Hebrews.
Yeah.
But she knew that she was not of that nation. But the woman by the well acknowledged that she was a descendant of Jacob
Yeah.
in the book of Luke. So now that's Jesus as an adult. Now let's see what happened when Jesus passed away, right? So let's go to the book of Acts 5, and let's read 30. Let's see if it changed after he died. Because according to Christianity, the blood of Jesus has cleansed every human being on planet out of every nation, out of every kindred and tongue, and they are also now included
Book of
in the
Acts,
promise.
Book of Acts chapter 5, verse 30. The God of our fathers raised up Jesus, whom ye slew and hanged on a tree. Him hath God exalted with his right hand to be a prince and a saviour, for to give repentance to Israel and forgiveness of sins.
Again, he's still on the mission. The angel told his father, call him Jesus, for he shall what? Save his people from their sins. During his time as an adult, he said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. After his death, several years, the apostles are reminding people that he is sitting on the right hand of the Father, that he's a prince and a savior meaning his whole purpose is to give repentance to Israel and forgiveness of sins. Why? Because the laws were only given to the children of Israel. They were never given to all the other nations.
Mhm.
Because by definition, sin is the transgression of the laws. The laws were given unto the children of Israel. We
Psalms, yeah.
read that back in the book of Psalms, that he had not dealt so with any other nation. It's hard, but that's what it's saying. If it was saying something else, that's what we would be explaining.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we're explaining what it's saying. So those are three examples of before he's even born, when he's an adult, and after his death, the message did not change. Christianity changed the message. Religions changed the message. Man changed the message. So let's go to the next thing. You good? You good to keep going?
Yeah.
Let's go to Romans 8 real quick, 8 and 14.
Romans chapter 8 and verse 14.
Huh?
But as many as are led by the Spirit of God, they are the sons of God. For ye have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear, but ye have received the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father.
You see that? For as many are led by the Spirit of God, ye are the sons of God. So he's reminding them that they are the sons of God, these quote unquote Gentiles.
Mhm.
For ye have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear. So when did they receive the spirit? When they were given the law, statutes, and commandments. But
Yeah.
ye have received the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father. The Spirit itself bear witness with our spirit that we are the children of God. For if children, then heirs, heirs of God, and joint heirs with Christ. If so, be that we suffer with him, that we may also be glorified together. So it's the joining of the two back to one. There was another scripture that was pretty good. I think I showed it to you before.
You paraphrase it.
Paul is called the apostle of the Gentiles. Conclusion. Scattered northern tribes, generationally separated since Solomon's kingdom divided, referred to as not my people in Hosea, which Paul directly applies in Romans 9. Historically located in Persia territories per 2 Kings and 2 Esdras, and mentioned by Josephus as still existing, being called back to the covenant by Paul's gospel, fulfilling prophecy of gathering Israel. And that's what we're reading here. It's like I said, they're Israelites by blood, Gentiles by status, now sons of God again by faith and obedience. And that's what we're reading about in the book of Romans. So what's the last verse we can go to for this? 3 more scriptures and we're done. Romans 12, 1 to 2. Yeah, read that.
Well, it was chapter 12, verse 1.
Here's a Roman right here. Here we got a nice Roman. There you go. That would be a true Greek.
That's the
And this
model
would
of you.
be right. And this would be a Hellenized Greek.
Yeah.
Looking like that actor that played 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah.
Tell me he don't look like him.
He does, to be fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And then here we have a circumcised Jew right here.
There we
That
go.
would be
Old school.
circumcised. Real old school. Right. So let's go to what was the
Romans
scripture I
chapter
said?
12, 12 verse 1. It says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God.
That's it. We have to be changed out of this, from being a Greek,
Yeah.
a Grecian, being an American. Not saying it's bad to be an American, but the Bible tells you about Babylon and being partakers of her sins.
Yeah.
That's what was going on back then. They were partakers of the sins of Greece. Go to Romans 13 and verse 8. Let's go here.
To Romans chapter 13, verse 8.
And we're going to read up to 10.
It says, owe no man anything but to love one another. For he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law.
Right. So he's telling the Jews and the Gentiles, who are the northern tribes, of which we've been proven, that they need to love one another, because there was no love between each other. We read about that with Peter. When Peter was sitting and talking with the Gentiles, when he saw the Pharisees or the other Jews come in, what did he do? He got up and walked away from them and pretended like he didn't know them. So imagine you're the one teaching this gospel and then you do that.
Yeah. Setting a bad
You
example.
right, you set a bad example. You're basically showing like, yo, you guys are part of us again, but oh, so now I gotta pretend like I don't know you.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Because of fear of the opinion of others. Because of the long-term animosity between the northern and southern kingdom. The many wars, the many deaths. It's no different than the Mexicans in California versus the blacks of California. Same thing today. Go ahead.
For this thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not covet. And if there be any other commandment, it is briefly comprehended in this saying, namely, love thy neighbor. Sorry, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Love worketh no ill to his neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law.
Right. And it was time now to start keeping that law with one another because the northern tribes have been lawless.
Mm,
They
yeah,
have been lawless.
yeah.
All right. So that's it. That's good. Hopefully that was a good breakdown.
Yeah, man.
Y'all have a good one. Shalom.
All praises.